Real quick, guys, before we start, I want to give a big thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are amazing and you're helping this channel grow and thrive. If you're not already a patron and you're interested in joining, please be sure to check out the link in the description and help us out as much as you can. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Subjectively Speaking. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, but if you guys enjoy it, then we'll do it more often. Smallgest is over, and I know a lot of you really enjoyed those videos. It's so exciting for me to hear. It was a ton of fun getting to talk about my own personal work and exchanging ideas with all of you fans. And while I don't plan on doing Smallgest or any other prompt list for this month, I do want to continue sharing my design process with you guys. So I held a poll on our YouTube community post and asked you guys what you might want to see next. And excitingly, the vast majority of you said that you wanted to see a video or series about an original story that we're creating and get in on some of the process. This is really awesome to hear because I have a story that I just started to develop and I need your help deciding on some very important visual elements to fit my themes. So let's dive into our first ever Subjectively Speaking workshop and create a world together. Storytelling is an incredibly involved process. So much goes into creating an exciting and appealing story, and it can be hard finding the right place to start. Everyone has different methods and processes, and there really isn't any right way to go about creating your own world. My process tends to get pretty scattered. I have some stories that I've been working on for years, and I still don't know how they're going to end. I have other stories that I've written a beginning and an ending to, but I don't know what happens in between. And some of my stories start with character designs that eventually evolve into a full narrative. But one thing that all of these stories have in common is a clear theme that I use to establish tone, setting, and character design. If you haven't watched my character design process video, I recommend that you check it out before you keep watching this. I talk in a little bit more detail about why these things are important and how to successfully incorporate your theme into your character design and overall story. Basically, a theme is an overarching message, moral, or question that you can apply to every aspect of your story. Sometimes it's a battle between two forces. Take The Incredibles, for example. Personal passion versus family. Sometimes it can be summed up in one word. Identity, fear, friendship. The best themes are usually one sentence, and you can use the sentence as a kind of mantra to repeat to yourself when you're designing your world for your story.
Life, finds a way.
A while ago, I came up with a theme that got me excited. It was after we made our SCP video. I started reading more and more about this collaborative literary project, and I identified a theme that I felt could be summed up in one word. Curiosity. The driving force behind every SCP story was a curiosity, either from an individual or a group, to learn more about the anomaly, what it was, where it came from, and how dangerous it was. I thought about this more and more, and eventually I realized something about stories like this. Cases where the curiosity was resolved were not as interesting as stories where the questions were never answered. And that's when I came up with a new theme for a new story. Not every question can have an answer. But a theme like that can be interpreted so many different ways. It could be horror, and I could set it in a world very similar to the SCP universe. It could be comedy, and I could write a cheesy rom-com about two people who fall in love without really knowing why. Maybe it would be set in a sci-fi future, what unanswered questions lie in the darkness of space. Or maybe I could set it in the Pleistocene era. I bet at least one caveman had questions that no one had answers to. This is where outside inspiration really comes into the creative process. Some of you guys may know already that Claire and I have moved from Boston to Providence in Rhode Island about 2 weeks ago. Providence is a really old town. It was settled before the United States was even a country. Subsequently, it is loaded with interesting history and unique landmarks. Brown University, the First Baptist Church in America, and the world's largest termite. Okay, that last one really isn't that interesting. But let's not forget one of Providence's biggest and probably most overlooked attractions, the birthplace and home of cult writer H.P. Lovecraft. Most of you are probably already familiar with him and his work, but for those of you who aren't, Lovecraft was a writer of weird fiction from the early 20th century. His most famous works include The Necronomicon and The Call of Cthulhu, two anthologies of short stories that carved their own niche in the horror genre. Things like Bloodborne, Skyrim, Dungeons & Dragons, and other contemporary worlds are heavily inspired by his unique brand of eldritch horror. These works center around unexplainable phenomena that manifest in the minds of mortals, be it hallucination or the work of ancient gods. Worlds of mystery and secrecy, filled with questions that the author has chosen not to answer. It's had both fans and critics of his work puzzled for decades, and his writing has even convinced a small group of people that these scenarios he's created were not fiction at all, that he was in fact some prophet of a very real and very powerful pantheon of deities who seek to meddle in the affairs of men. But despite how confusing and terrifying his stories may be, most of them take place in the New England area, specifically in Providence. So with all of that in mind, I began to settle on a setting for my story, a fantasy horror adventure set in early 20th century Providence. Now, here's where you guys come in. I'm writing up my story with some loose episodic plot lines, but I need characters to fill all the roles. I need your help deciding on the best character designs for my main characters before we can take this story any further. And we're going to start with the lead protagonist, Celeste. The year is 1923. Providence is one of the wealthiest cities in America, and industry is everything. Powerful men control the businesses, who hire the factories, who employ the workers. And at the very bottom of the food chain is a young woman with a lot of questions that really don't have time to be answered. Celeste lives with her grandmother and supports her as well as herself. She never knew her father, and her mother left when she was very young. Her grandma has some secrets too. She inherited a large manor on the corner of Benevolence and Benefit Street from a wealthy professor she worked for back in the 1800s. She never goes there and has warned Celeste to stay away since she was a child. But she doesn't have time to really think about any of this. She's got her hands full making enough money to support her family. However, to help satisfy her curiosity for the world and how things work, she has developed an interest in technology and engineering. But despite her natural penchant for the field, her socioeconomic status has kept her from joining the real influencers in the developing industry. Instead, she works on an assembly line of an automobile manufacturer, making less than minimum wage and barely enough to support herself. So, I need a design that fits these themes. A self-assured, hard-working, curious mind who is frustrated with her lack of answers. So far, I have 3 very loose designs that I thought might work for Celeste. The first design was, well, my first design. It was very in my comfort zone and kind of basic. Here I was really establishing physical traits that I wanted to see in her design. You know, her clothes, colors, hair, and accessories. I like the goggles and the bandana, and I think that elements of this design could be utilized to better express her personality a little bit more. In my second design, I tried to convey emotion and personality with a little bit more direction. I posed her in a way that I think might be more expressive, stubborn, focused, and a little bit sassy. I kept most of her clothing that I had in the first design, glove, apron, bandana, but I changed up some of the shapes and colors. I introduced this little swirl in her hair, and I like that shape. I'd like to keep it somewhere. The last design was also very expressive. This time she had a bit more of a cocky attitude, sort of a know-it-all smartass. I gave her longer hair here and changed up her outfit too. I went with suspenders and high-waisted pants, and kept her bandana and goggles, but put them on her arm and around her neck respectively. She still has the engineer look, but is a little bit more street thuggish, maybe aggressive or confrontational. These are my first 3 rough ideas, and now I need you guys to help me pick which elements of each design you think would work best in the final character. Which overall design do you like best? 1, 2, or 3? And which parts of them do you think will work, and which parts do you think need to change? Would this look better on that? Or would perhaps this personality work better if she was dressed like this? Or so on and so forth. Group critiques are an essential part of the character design process, so I'd love to hear what you guys have to say and involve you in creating this world with me. I'll look at your responses in the comments, and for next week, I'll have a finished design for you guys to enjoy. And be sure to let me know if you've enjoyed this video and would like me to do another one for this story. There are plenty more designs that need to be done, and having you guys as a part of the process would be super fun. And let me know if you guys are interested in this story and would like to see us produce some sort of comic or something to get engrossed in. I don't want to divulge any big spoilers, plot-wise, in case you guys actually want to experience this story for yourself. And lastly, be sure to check out our partner Inked Gaming. Awesome custom gaming merch from independent artists. Use the link in the description and the code subjectively10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next video.